Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary. I'm the founder of the Love Government. We're doing a series of videos on sex signs. Because at the Love Government, I feel that it's very important to open up this whole area of sexuality because sex is at the root of our problems, and sex is at the apex of the solutions. So we're going to gingerly, kind of lean into the subject, and we've got plenty of time, and there's going to be quite a few more episodes, I anticipate. So hang on to your hats. Here we go. We're going to go back in time. Get your time machine ready. Hit the right buttons. We're going to go back 100,000 years, and we're going to hit the space dial there. We're going to zoom in like, Google Earth here. We're looking around, looking for Africa. Zoom into Africa, East Africa, by the big lake. We used to call it Lake Victoria. And we're going to go visit one of the many little groups of people who were our ancestors. So people at that time lived in smaller groups. I'd say maybe 30 to 60, something like that, where everybody knew everybody else. And then all of these groups interacted with one another. It wasn't like today where you have to have a passport. You could just go from group to group and you were welcome everywhere because we all ate the same food, basically. We were thinking the same things. We had the same values. We were all family. There weren't all the big differences that we have today and all the big distractions. So now we settle into who we were 100,000 years ago. These are our ancestors, and they're really us, because 100,000 years ago is not that long in the long spaces of even life itself. So they're just like not that different from us. The scientists say that if one of our ancestors from 100,000 years ago appeared on our streets today, we wouldn't know that they were from 100,000 years ago if they dressed like us, because our anatomy is the same. We're the same. But the culture is different. The surroundings that we live in are different. The conditioning is different. The upbringing is different. And the language is different. That's why we're downloading from that culture into the present. So if you can get a sense, picture them, get a sense that they're here, because they are, we can be with them. They're not going to be here physically, but they'll be here in other dimensions. It's like a radio. When you tune a radio, just move the dial a little bit. You dial a little bit, you go to a different frequency, and you get a whole different program. Computers kind of work like that too. Punch in one word as a search word, that opens up one window. Punch in a different word. It's all in the numbers, so to speak. And as Shakespeare said a long time ago, in the mouth of Horatio, there are more things that are dreamt of in your philosophy, Horatio. Our particular philosophy is one little frequency, but there are many, many, many more things going on right as we speak. Radio waves are going through me, television radio waves, radiation of all kinds, pictures of all kinds, sounds of all kinds. But we just have to focus on what we want. In the Love Government, we're focusing on love. That's our focus. All the time. We want love. That's where we're going. That's where we came from. And love involves, for us, sexuality, because that's how we got here. And sexuality is the main expression of love. So sex is where it's at. So let's take a look now through our time machine. We're there, and they're here with them. What were they like? What were our ancestors like? Because that's what we like. We're embedded in nature. And in terms of government, it was a woman focal culture. The whole focus of the culture was on a woman. Remember, I say woman, not woman. Make a distinction, fine distinction, but keep it in mind. File it for now. The culture was focused on woman. It was not patriarchal. It was the opposite. It was lover-archal. Archical. Archi is a big word, means first principle, first cause, the most important thing. And then love is the most important thing in that culture. And the carrier of the love in the culture was the woman. And that was recognized and honored and revered by the men in the culture. The men stood up for the women. When they needed to be defended, the men were there. When they needed to be helped, the men were there. When the woman wanted to have sex and she wanted a particular man, she invited the man in. Basically, so it was a woman focal culture. It was also a matrilineal culture. Now, what does that mean? It means the line of descent ran through the mother, daughter, mother, daughter, mother, daughter, and so on. Today, it has been reversed through the rebellion of patriarchy. That's another long story which we'll get into maybe later, but we'll have to kind of leave it to the side. But there was a big rebellion against the love culture that we're describing here. It was a big rebellion. The patriarchal men became jealous, whatever. They wanted the power, and so they overthrew it. We'll go back to that part. We'll pick it up later. But what I'm talking about is the culture was woman-focal. It was like ladies first. Ladies, women, and their children went first. We still have that in our head, locked away somewhere. If there's an accident, get the ladies and the women first. The men will go last. If the boat is sinking, you give the life preservers to the woman and her child first. Now, it doesn't always work that way anymore, but that's the way it's set up. That's the way nature set it up. Why? Because the women are the love bearers and the child bearers. So it's important that they be giving preference if there's any preference to be given. So in the love culture, the woman was honored and protected and so on and so forth. If she needed protection. Maybe she did. The other thing about this location, it's in the tropics, so it's warm, hot even, and we don't wear many clothes. We go around naked or semi-naked or not many clothes, so we don't have the restrictions on nudity that we have today. Our culture is really uptight about nudity, and you can be fined pretty heavily, and you can go to jail if you're nude in the wrong way. Or if even you pee in public, you can go to jail. Our culture is very hard on open sexuality because it's perceived as being very, very dangerous for good reason. Because in our culture, sexuality is dangerous. You can get diseases. If you're walking around at the wrong place at night, you can be attacked. You can be molested. You can be raped. You can be killed. It's not that safe in our culture anymore, but to make a difference, and we're talking about the love culture, we had none of that then, or very, very little of it. We were safe. And so you could walk around naked, and our nudity was commonplace. It wasn't a big thing to even think about. So we became used to each other's bodies. And I want to bring up something here that is, I'll treat more in detail later on, but the woman was extremely beautiful and extremely attractive, but it was a well-governed sexuality. And today we still have that. The woman, to my point, is the most beautiful of all creation. Whether you want to think of that in terms of God, or if you want to think in terms of being created by star people, whatever. The woman is the center of the love life. But there's lots of precautions that we have to take now, because the woman is still so attractive that she can be easily abused, taken advantage of, intruded upon unnecessarily. And so therefore, when I speak about the way things were in the love culture, we have to realize that that cannot be taken as it was and just simply transposed into our culture today, because it will not work. If a beautiful woman, say from the love culture, suddenly appears in our culture and exposes herself, she would not be safe. Not at all. She is not safe in our culture because we don't have the safeguards. We don't have the governing system that protected all of us. So you can't simply take what I'm saying and think it's going to work today, because it isn't. It'll be a catastrophe. It'll be a disaster. Nakedness is just one example. You can't go naked in this culture except in very private places or places that are set up for it. Sex, as well as just about everything else, has been privatized in our culture. Why would they do that? Why would we? Because then it has a value in money terms, or a commodity. If you can make it scarce, make it private, it's not free, it's not open, it's not easily accessible. If it's open and free, as in a love culture, it has no monetary value. It's called the objectification of persons. You put a price tag on a person. So a beautiful woman now is used to sell products, because we still retain the beauty of that culture. Now, men are beautiful also. Not saying that, but if there's a preference to be given, and I don't believe in this equality across the board. Nature is not that way. Nature has distinct differences. We get the idea of equality of the sexes from the political realm. It's a mental construct, and it works in that realm. It wouldn't work. You couldn't work it any other way. But we are not equal. The sexes are not equal. Not in nature's way of looking at it. Strictly speaking, I mean, sure, I say politically in our culture, you can cordon it off there, box it in, and you say, yeah, the sexes are equal. But not in the broader natural sense. Men can't bear the children. That's inequality. Women have far greater sexual capacity than men do. Far greater. And we'll get more in detail about what that means in a love culture. I want to go back to my previous point, because I think it's really, really important to get this straight, or otherwise we're all going to be in trouble. You can't take the love culture and simply drop it into an anti-love culture like we have today, because it's not going to work. It's going to be a problem. You can do what we're doing. We can lean into it. You can get some ideas about it, and then gradually you can, think about it, and then lean into it. But be very careful. So thank you for listening, if you have, and I look forward to being with you again if you care to join us. Have a very peaceful, happy, wonderful day.